Amelia touched the worn photograph, her fingers tracing the outline of his face. James. Even now, after all these years, his name sent a familiar ache through her. They had been young then, their love a bright and shining thing. She remembered their laughter echoing through the fields of sunflowers where they first met. He was kind and strong, with eyes that held the warmth of the summer sun. She was drawn to his gentle nature, his unwavering optimism. He had swept her off her feet, their love a whirlwind of shared dreams and stolen kisses. They built a life together, a small but cosy cottage filled with the aroma of freshly baked bread and the sound of his laughter. Then came their greatest joy, Lily. Their daughter, with his eyes and her smile, was a perfect blend of their love. He would hold Lily for hours, whispering stories of brave knights and magical creatures, his voice filled with wonder. Amelia would watch them, her heart overflowing with a love she never knew existed. Those were simpler times, days filled with warmth and light, days she clung to now in the desolate landscape of her present. The news of the war came like a storm cloud, casting a dark shadow over their idyllic life. Amelia remembered the fear in James's eyes, the way he held her close as he whispered the news. Duty called him to a distant land, a place of conflict and uncertainty. The thought of him leaving, of Lily growing up without her father, sent splinters of ice through Amelia's veins. The day he left was etched in her memory. The platform was crowded, the air thick with the stench of coal smoke and fear. Soldiers embraced loved ones, their faces etched with apprehension. Amelia held Lily tightly, her own tears mixing with her daughter's. James knelt before them, his eyes filled with an unbearable sadness. He kissed Lily's forehead, then Amelia's lips, a silent promise sealed in that single touch. As the train pulled away, Amelia's heart ripped in two. She watched him disappear into the distance, her hand clutching the locket he had given her. It contained their picture, a reminder of their love and a promise of his return. She stood there long after the train vanished, the echo of its whistle a mournful cry in the growing silence. She clung to Lily, her daughter's warmth the only solace in a world suddenly gone cold. Little did she know that goodbye was just the beginning of their long, heart-wrenching journey. The city was a harsh, unforgiving place, a stark contrast to the warmth of their village. Amelia, once a farmer's wife, was now adrift in a sea of strangers. She carried Lily from building to building, her pleas for work met with indifference. The weight of their situation pressed upon her, each day a struggle for survival. Food became scarce, their once comfortable life reduced to scraps and charity. Nights were spent huddled in doorways, the cold seeping into their bones. Lily, once a chubby-cheeked baby, grew thin and frail. The sound of her daughter's whimpers tore at Amelia's heart, a constant reminder of her inability to provide. There were times when despair threatened to consume her, when the weight of loneliness and fear felt unbearable. But then she would look into Lily's eyes, those big, innocent eyes that mirrored her own. In those depths, she saw not just her daughter, but also James. The thought of him, the faint hope of his return, was the only thing that kept her going. She had to be strong for Lily, for James, and for the love that still burned, however faintly, in her heart. Just when Amelia felt herself teetering on the precipice of despair, a flicker of light appeared. Mrs. Hathaway, an elderly woman with kind eyes and a warm smile, found them huddled beneath a shop awning. She saw past their ragged clothes and the grime on their faces, recognizing the desperation in Amelia's eyes. Mrs. Hathaway took them in, offering them not just food and shelter, but also kindness and understanding. Her small apartment became their sanctuary, a haven from the storm that raged outside. She helped Amelia find work, a small but steady income that allowed them to rent a room. More importantly, she treated Lily like her own granddaughter, showering her with love and affection. Under Mrs. Hathaway's guidance, Amelia slowly began to rebuild their lives. She enrolled Lily in school, her heart swelling with pride as she watched her daughter blossom. Mrs. Hathaway became their pillar of strength, a surrogate mother and grandmother, filling the void left by James's absence. Amelia would forever be indebted to the woman who had shown them such compassion, who had helped them find their footing in a world that seemed determined to break them. Section 5. Rising from the Ashes. Life wasn't easy, but Amelia faced each challenge with newfound determination. She worked tirelessly, juggling her job with caring for Lily and attending night classes. Mrs. Hathaway, with unwavering faith in Amelia's abilities, encouraged her to pursue her education. Years passed in a blur of hard work and sacrifice. Amelia excelled in her studies, her sharp mind and unwavering focus earning her recognition. She graduated law school with honours, her heart filled with gratitude for Mrs. Hathaway and pride in her own resilience. She had come a long way from the desperate young woman who had arrived in the city, broken and alone. Becoming a lawyer wasn't just a career for Amelia, it was a symbol of her triumph over adversity. She fought for the underdog, for those who couldn't fight for themselves. Her reputation as a fierce advocate for justice grew, her courtroom victories a testament to her dedication and unwavering spirit. Through it all, the memory of James served as her guiding star, a beacon of hope that kept her going even in the darkest of times. Despite her success, a part of Amelia remained tethered to the past. Every night, she set an extra place at the dinner table, a silent homage to the man who still held her heart captive. She told Lily stories of her father, keeping his memory alive in their small home. People told her to move on, that it was time to let go. But she couldn't. To let go of James would be to betray the love that had defined her life, the love that had given her Lily. So she waited, clutching onto the locket he had given her, a tangible reminder of their bond. Years turned into decades, hope fading into a dull ache. The world moved on, but Amelia existed in a state of suspended animation, frozen in time. She never allowed herself to believe that he was gone, clinging to the belief that somehow, somewhere, he was still out there, fighting his way back to her. The knock on the door came on a day much like any other. Amelia, now in her 50s, her hair streaked with silver, answered with a distracted air. Standing on her doorstep was a man, older, wearier, but with eyes that were undeniably James's. Time seemed to stop, her breath catching in her throat. He looked at her, his eyes filled with a mixture of apprehension and longing. "Amelia," he whispered, his voice rough with emotion. That single word shattered the dam she had built around her heart. Tears welled in her eyes, blurring his features, but it was him, her James, back from the abyss. The years melted away as she flew into his arms, his familiar scent enveloping her. He held her tightly, his body trembling with the force of his emotions. "You came back," she sobbed, her voice thick with unshed tears. "You actually came back." It was a miracle, a dream come true after a lifetime of waiting. He was home, and in that moment nothing else mattered. Lily rushed into the room, drawn by the sound of her mother's sobs. She stopped short, her eyes widening as she took in the sight of her mother clinging to a stranger. Amelia drew back, her eyes shining with tears, and gestured towards James. "Lily," she said, her voice thick with emotion, "this is your father." Lily stared at the man, his features both familiar and strange. He approached her cautiously, his own eyes filled with tears. "Lily," he said, his voice rough with emotion, "you've grown so much." Hesitantly, Lily reached out and took his hand. The moment their fingers touched, a spark seemed to ignite, bridging the years of separation. He pulled her into a hug, and she buried her face in his chest, the reality of his presence finally sinking in. She sobbed. This stranger, this soldier who had haunted her childhood stories, was her father, flesh and blood. As they stood there, embraced in the warm glow of their reunion, Amelia knew that their family, fragmented by war and loss, was finally whole again. The years that followed were a time of healing and rediscovery. James, forever marked by his time as a prisoner of war, struggled to readjust to life outside captivity. But Amelia and Lily were there, their love and support unwavering. He finally met his grandchildren, their laughter filling the void left by years of stolen moments. As the sun set on their lives, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Amelia and James sat hand in hand on their porch swing. Lily and her family were inside, the sound of their laughter a comforting melody. He looked at Amelia, his eyes filled with a love that had only deepened with time. 30 years, he whispered, his voice raspy but filled with wonder. It took 30 years, but I finally found my way back to you. Amelia leaned her head against his shoulder, a contented sigh escaping her lips. They had weathered the storms, faced unimaginable loss, and emerged stronger, their love a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. As the first stars twinkled in the night sky, they knew that their love story, though born in the shadow of war, had found its happy ending. Thank you so much for listening. This story had me bawling my eyes out. The human spirit really is a strong thing. Please like and subscribe. We appreciate you so much.